If you're here, then I'm guessing you're someone like me who has been on this particular path, this walk of healing for quite some time. You've done your inner work, you faced your shadows, you hold no fear when it comes to questioning yourself and diving in very, very deeply. Maybe you have even guided others through their own personal truth. But today I want to speak directly to a truth that many of us don't want to acknowledge. We don't want to name it. We don't want to look at it. And so it becomes shadow too. Healing itself can become an addiction. Not just a habit or some sort of process, but like an actual identity that we wear, a persona, another mask that we tend to put on, a system we unconsciously feed to avoid ever being still. Yes, I know your mind is probably saying, but I go into that stillness. It's the part of shadow work. But the stillness I'm talking about is much deeper than where you'll meet the shadows. It's a hidden space for sure, unrecognizable, really. And I bet you have felt it. And I bet you have been there without realizing exactly what it was. The void, the space where there are not shadows. It's your true essence intertwined with God's true essence. You mingling, weaving together in that space of stillness. When you touch it, when you feel it, when you go into that space, it's like nothing ever imaginable. It's co-creation at its finest, a true freedom frequency, God frequency. And it's how we process our alignment. It's how we co-create our patterns. And so if you've been walking this journey of healing, then you've probably fallen into a pattern of using it, leaning into it, or latching onto it as an identity. There's a quote that I've been sitting with lately, especially since reading Blavatsky's Fragment 1 work. I haven't dived into Fragment 2 yet, but it's coming. That quote said, "Desire nothing, chafe not at karma, be not a soldier of fortune." And so I've been thinking about that. That quote right there is about pure spiritual deconstruction in its deepest sense. It's almost like not chasing any sort of outcomes, not resisting your karmic cycle, and not fighting for your position in the spiritual world, in the spiritual community. It's being brought to my attention right now that I'm kind of like a not me girl. Not me. My identity will rapidly change because I'm a not me girl. In a way that when I see other people doing the same things that I do, there's maybe a shadow inside of me that's like, I don't want to be like everybody else. And I had to sit with that too, because it was taken on this perception of my persona, who I am, right? But when the truth of that really boils down and we get to the root of it, I am you and you are me. And we are a part of that God frequency, that divinity, that infinite, that source. I say all of them to make sure we're all on the same page here. And so for many years, I've been fighting against the grain of being as one. And that was a part of my walk with as the healer, right? I didn't want to be like every other healer. It's not that I wanted the spotlight or to stand out. I just didn't want to be like everybody else. I wanted to be me. And me is simply not this. I can show up and present to you how I feel and choose, right? But the me that I'm talking about is the me that I feel in that space of stillness when self is selfless. So, yeah, I've become addicted to healing before. I've become addicted to the shadow work, like making it my identity. It's how I felt valuable, how I earned spiritual legitimacy, you know? I know things. Well, of course I do. I've been doing shadow work since before shadow work was even a thing. Before I even knew it had a name, I was doing it. The deeper the wound, the deeper my post would be, the more I suffered, the more I went through this chaos, the more that I was evolving. That's what I thought. But somewhere along the lines, healing stopped being freedom. And that's what I always was aligning to, or trying to at least. Freedom coaches. But it stopped being about that. It started being more, I mean, for lack of a better word, performance. So I had to sit with that. I had to sit with that quote and begin to see the selfless me, the true self. And I hope one day that you who is sitting here watching this will be able to see that too. Beyond the mask, beyond the persona, beyond the identity, I am you and you are me. Isn't that such a nice thing, though? When you really think about it, isn't that what this is all about, anyways? Connection, true, authentic connection. Peel back the layers on that. When we're thinking about peeling back layers, sometimes we just keep circling through the same pattern over and over and over. And sometimes it's because it keeps us safe, or at least we feel that it keeps us safe. It's what we know. Now, I bet you're like me and you've had a lifetime of healing to do. And maybe you began your walk early as well. But don't you think we get comfortable in that space, in the chaos, in the suffering? It keeps us from having to really, truly face the stillness. And I really believe that that does us a great disservice to not sit in that space, in that void. I have a question for you. What's left when there's nothing to fix? What happens when there's nothing left to fix? Who are you without all the shadows? Who are you without all the work? Who are you without all the suffering and all the pain? Without the chaos? Who are you? So here's the truth. Shadow work is absolutely sacred, but it was never meant to become your personality. Healing is absolutely necessary, but it's not your identity. The same way that the pain and suffering is not your identity. Spirituality is not supposed to be just another hustle. My phone vibrated. It's like, feel that. At some point, you're going to have to ask yourself to stop identifying with your damage and start remembering your wholeness. Start remembering who you truly are. Desire nothing. It doesn't mean that you stop wanting, that you stop wanting the things or change or beauty. It means you stop needing an outcome to validate your path. You don't need validation on your path. Chafe not at karma. The second line of that, I was about to say the stanza. Maybe it was originally. Chafe not at karma. Stop resisting the patterns that keep showing up. Have you ever been stuck in a cycle? That's your teacher. That's your teacher. That's where you gain your wisdom. That's where you level up. It's not to punish you. Be not a soldier of fortune. You don't have to win the game of who healed the most. We're not in competition. Now, that one I understood for a very long time. There's no badge or no big shiny medal for how many layers that you've cried through. That's not what this is about. You're not here to conquer your suffering. You're here to transform it and then move on. Get out of the cycle. Recode in the void, in the stillness. Repattern. So if you've ever found yourself in a loop, if you're constantly digging and excavating and breaking down and constantly processing, maybe stop and ask yourself, what would you be doing with that same energy if you really truly knew that you was already whole? What is it? What would you be doing? What would you be doing without the need to heal? That's a huge, especially for me. I'm telling you, my process started a long time ago. It really, truly is all I've ever known. Going within, looking within, excavate, dig, 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 pull them roots out. You got to see yourself. You got to know who you are. I'm whole. If there's any resistance in you when you feel that, when you say that, it's not going to be a sign that you're broken. That's just the spiral of that God frequency offering you your next level, your next step up the ladder. Stillness and integration and co-creation at its finest. Chef's kiss. This is where the real magic happens. Not the spiral down, but the spiral through it, with it, oneness. So if this hit somewhere inside of you, maybe you felt it in your body somewhere, sit with that just for a moment. Breathe with it. Don't rush to fix it. Don't rush to do the shadow work to it. Be with it. And when you're ready, come back to that God frequency. That stillness that you'll begin to feel has always been there waiting on you. Your realization, your openness, your alignment, your trust in who you are. So I want to know from you guys, if you have felt this way, if you have felt, and I know it's vulnerable to have to admit, if you felt yourself latch on to the identity of the healer, the shadow work, and you've made that who you are, you have woven these patterns of chaos and suffering, and you're just tired of cycling these old patterns. You're tired of performing your healing. Let's speak honestly together. Let me know. Drop a comment. Reach out. You're never your wounds, and you're not your shadow. You're the one who survived both. And now I would say it's time to live in a way like you never have before. And that's just beautiful. Until next time, make sure you hit the like button and get a little notification bell. There's so much being brought forward to this channel. We would love to see you in this space. Yeah. Until next time.